As a photographer, collaborating with models and doing photo shoots is a great way to expand your portfolio or to allow you some creative freedom to do the type of shoots that you want and get you outside of your normal client work. And in this video, I'm going to give you 15 tips, things to consider, things to keep in mind when collaborating with models. So let's get to it. So of course, number one is choosing how you want to reach out to the model. Now, of course, Instagram is probably the most common way, but you can use any of the social media platforms. You also can reach out to modeling agencies directly and ask if they have any new models that would be willing to do test shoots. Now, typically modeling agencies will do test shoots for models that they've just recently signed or models that don't have a lot of experience. And this is a way to help that model get experience. So it still is a collaboration. You typically aren't paying for it, but it's a great way to have someone else kind of doing all the legwork with the model and they just show up and you can do the shoot. Now, I typically use Instagram, and my preferred way to contact the model is via DM. Now, I know some people these days are using the comments and getting creative. I just don't do it that way. I stick with going through the DMs. I know some people are worried about them not seeing the messages. I can tell you right now, they see them. Even if they go into the request folder, they see that they have a request. They see them. So if you don't get a response, it's not because they didn't see it. They just didn't want to respond. But that's how I choose to do it. It works relatively well for me. It's easy. So pick your method, decide how you want to reach out to them and go from there. Of course, you can try different things, see what works for you, but pick your method. And speaking of Instagram, number two, pay attention to the model's bio. If they have something along the lines of DM for rates in their bio, they're probably not going to be willing to do a collab unless there's something of value that they're going to receive. So a fashion shoot where they get to keep the clothes, or a product of some sort that they get to keep, or you're bringing a shoot idea that is very elaborate that would benefit their portfolio. But typically, if you see DM for rates, they're not going to work for a collab, and it really wouldn't be a good use of your time and effort to even reach out to them unless you're willing to pay for that particular model. Number three, and also keeping with their bio, scan their profile and see what type of images they have on their profile. Make sure that their style and aesthetic matches the type of shoot that you're looking to do. If you find a model and they have predominantly swimwear or boudoir type photos, but you're looking to do an outdoor urban fashion shoot, that person is probably not going to be the best person to hit up, because it's clear the type of photos that they do, and they're probably not going to see a lot of value in working with you for free to do an urban outdoor shoot when they prefer the boudoir or the swimwear. So look for models who have the same style and aesthetic of the shoot that you're wanting to do. And also keep in mind that if, going back to that example, if they had a lot of swimwear and boudoir and you really don't have any of that on your page, if you reach out to them, they're really gonna probably look at you like a creep and think that you just wanna shoot them because they're half naked in most of their pictures. So make sure that the model style and aesthetic matches yours as well. Number four, this is a reality check. You need to understand that the larger your following, the better your success rate. That's just the reality of it. There are a lot of people on Instagram, and I'm using model, but please know that model, I'm also referring to just people that are Instagram that have a pretty face that want pictures, because they are different from models, but I didn't really want to jump into that. But understand that there are a lot of people that see value in working with someone that has a large following, because they're going to think, well, if a person with a large following posts their pictures and tag them, that's going to help them get their numbers up. So the larger following you have, the more success that you will have in having people respond to you. Now, that is certainly not to say that you cannot reach out to people if you have a small following. I have a very small following on Instagram, and I still get plenty of responses back when I reach out to people. So don't be discouraged, but just be realistic with yourself. You're going to send a lot of messages, or you're going to do a lot of comments, and most of them are going to go unanswered. That's just the way of the game. It really is a numbers game. You just have to send a lot of stuff and you'll get some hits here and there. But the larger your following in general, the more success you're going to have in getting that response. And number five, you also need to understand that just as photographers, we have our certain style that we like. models do too. So they may look at your profile and they may not like your style, or they may not like your work. They may not feel like your work is strong enough, and that's okay. You have to accept that every model isn't going to look at your profile and love what they see and want to work with you. So you have to understand that just because you're reaching out to someone and you're offering to shoot them for free, it doesn't mean that they're going to accept that. Because again, if they look at your work and it doesn't match what they like, or if they don't really feel like your work is strong enough, don't take it personal. That's their preference. They're probably not going to respond to you. The shoot isn't going to happen. So just understand that the same way we have our preferences, models do too. Respect that. Number 6, your level of work and experience as a photographer needs to match the level and work of experience of the model that you're reaching out to. If you are just getting into photography, if you don't really have a portfolio, if your work isn't that strong, if you're reaching out to a model that is very experienced with 150,000 followers, you are not going to get the time of day. You have to be real with yourself. If you're just starting out, you need to find models that are just starting out. And yes, they may not be the models that you want to shoot. They may not be as polished as the models that you want to shoot. But if you're starting here, your models typically need to be there as well. Now, that's not to say that you can't get a model that has more experience or has the look that you want. None of these are hard, fast rules, but you have to be realistic. If your work isn't that great, you can't try to go with someone that is very experienced as a model and has very polished work. They're going to expect the same thing because they're not getting paid. They're essentially working for free. So you need to make sure those levels match. So if your level is here, you're just getting into the game, find someone else that's just getting into the game. Just make sure that your level of work is matching the level of work of the models that you're reaching out to. Otherwise, you're just going to be wasting your time. Number 7, if the model is experienced, they're likely going to ask about a concept or request a mood board. So be prepared for that. Now, it can be a little challenging creating a mood board for someone that you don't know or you haven't worked with, but you can go back to looking at their profile, see what type of shoots they've done, and find something that you like and build a mood board off of that. So that way you can present it to them. Number 1 is going to give them an idea of what you want to do, what the shoot would look like, so they can decide if they want to do it. But it also makes you look more professional and more serious as a photographer. Now, as we know, it is very easy to get a camera, and there are a lot of guys out there that get cameras and they just want to shoot women half naked. So it is very difficult reaching out to a model and just saying, hey, you don't know me from anybody, do you want to do this free shoot? So if you're coming with a concept or a mood board, it's going to set you apart from 98% of the guys out here that have cameras that are reaching out to people, and it'll show that model that you're taking this very serious, it's business, and you're not going to be a creep. So plan for that. Take a little bit of time, find your model, browse their profile, come up with the concept or a mood board so that when you reach out to them, you can present that to them, and that will increase your odds of getting a response back from that model. Number 8, hop on a video call to discuss the details of the shoot. Experience has taught me that trying to go back and forth via like an Instagram DM is just a very inefficient way to do it. Sometimes it can take you days to get a response back, and when you're trying to plan a shoot, having to wait a day or two every time you send a response back to get that response, it gets very frustrating and it's annoying. So it's easier to just hop on an IG video call and just discuss all of those details, work out all the details on that call. That way you're not dealing with the back and forth stuff. Because like I said, it happens, it's frustrating, it's annoying. So just nip it in the bud, call them up and talk about it all, get it all worked out. Now, number 9, speaking of the back and forth in the 1-2 days response, prepare for the flakes. It will happen. You're going to have people that are going to respond and say they're interested, and then you're going to try to respond back to work out the details, and they're going to go ghost. You're not going to hear from them. Or you get one response, you send a response, you get nothing. You send a DM to say, hey, you want to hop on a video call to talk about it, you get nothing. Or you kind of get through all the processes, and then the day before the shoot or the day of the shoot, they cancel on you. It's going to happen. You are going to have flakes. Regardless of what experience level you have, you're going to have flakes. You're going to have people cancel on you. So the best thing you really could do is try to have redundancy. So if you know you want to do a particular shoot, you reach out to one model, reach out to a second model, and kind of have that one on the side. That sounds a little mean to say, but have your backup just in case this one falls through, because a lot of times models will either flake or they'll have things come up and they have to cancel. So it's nice when you have this contingency over here where you can just move that into place. So if you have your main, you can have your contingency and kind of work through all the details, but then don't schedule a date. And then if this one falls through, you can go over here, talk to this one, try to move them into that date. Or worst case, it may not be the same date, but you still have someone that can fill in. And if this one ends up meeting, then you can still do this one too. And you do 2 shoots. So it's still a win either way. So having that backup is nice because flakes will happen. Prepare for it, know that it's going to happen, and just deal with it. It's just the way it goes. Number 10, have a model release in place. Now, I know when you think collabs, you may be thinking you don't need a model release. I know photographers that don't do model releases with collabs, but in my opinion, you always need to have a model release when you're doing a photo shoot for 2 main reasons. Number 1, it sets expectations. So that way the model knows what to expect, you know what to expect, everybody is on the same page. And number 2, if you want to use those images for commercial purposes, and even putting them on a website portfolio is deemed commercial purposes, you need to have a model release. Just about in every state, you legally would need to have a model release, a signed model release, to be able to use those images for commercial purposes. So instead of having to get that release after the fact, just get it up front so that way you have it, that way the model knows what to expect, and some things that you should have in there. How many images are they going to get from the shoot? A general timeline on when they're going to get those images. All of those details should be in the model release and discussed with the model, so that way on the day of the shoot, there's no surprises. Everyone knows what to expect, and you will have a much easier time going through the whole process. Number 11, and this goes without saying, but be professional. Treat this collab as you would a client shoot. Now, this isn't to say that you can't have fun and be loose and relaxed, but treat this as a normal shoot. Show up and do the things that you would do if this were a paying client, or if you're not a professional photographer that takes paying clients. You want to present yourself in a way that says that, hey, I am a polished photographer, like this is serious for me, like I really want to get some good images out of this. So be very professional, be polite, be nice, treat the shoot as if it were a paid shoot. This will go a long way in you working with that model in the future. If you work with that model one time and you're kind of all over the place, you're not really being respectful, or it doesn't seem like you really know what you're doing, you're probably never going to work with that model again. So make sure that they have a good experience when they're working with you so that you can build a long-standing relationship with that particular model. Number 12, bring value to the model. Now, as photographers, I know we tend to think that we're bringing more to the table than a model. We obviously have all the gear, we're planning the shoot, we have the experience, all of these things. So it's debatable on who really is bringing more to the table. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter too much. Provide value to the model. Provide them with images that are going to compensate them for their time. You really have to think about models that you would typically pay for. Are you providing the same value for this model in terms of the images that you are giving to them? There should be some value there. Don't have a model come out, they're giving you their time, they're having to drive. We know gas is expensive. So they're coming out of pocket for things, even though they're not paying you. Make sure that you are repaying them in value with the images that you are giving them. Now, of course, throughout this whole process, you guys should already be on the same page on concept, what they're gonna get, all of these things. They should have looked at your profile. So these things should really have already been in play already. But just make sure when you're doing the shoot that the images that you are capturing and what you're doing, it is going to give value to this person that is giving you their time to stand in front of your camera. And number 13, turn your collab into money. Now, this is going to be something that isn't necessarily going to happen all the time, especially if it's just an IG girl with a pretty face. They're not likely going to buy anything from you. But you can use a collab as an opportunity to try to make more money. And there's a few ways to do that. Number one, you can give a set number of images. So let's say you're providing 3 images to the model, and then they can buy additional images. So that's one way. Number two, you can offer low res digital files and then upsell, charge them if they want high res files, if they want to submit them to a publication, or if they want to print them or something of the sort, then they have to buy those high res files. So there's things that you can do to turn this free shoot into a way to make money. Now, as I said, this isn't going to be something that a lot of models are going to want to do. But make sure that it is an option, and make sure that you discuss that with the model so that they are aware of that up front. And there will be times where you can turn these collabs into money. Now, I highly recommend that if you're doing something along the lines of only providing low res files and they have to pay for high res files, I highly recommend that you let the model know that up front. Number one, it should be in your model release. But outside of that, you need to make sure the model is very much aware of that. Or otherwise, you can run into a situation where you're going to have a model that's going to be very disappointed to find out that they have to pay for high res files. So all of these things, however you structure your shoot, just make sure that the model is very much aware of that going into it. So if there's something that they don't like or it doesn't work for them, then they can pull out of the shoot before it ever happens. Number 14, request reviews from your model. Now, this is really geared more towards people that are professional photographers. They have a business of some sort, or even if you don't, if you're looking to start a business, these shoots are no different than paid client shoots. Now, there are some fundamentals of it that are a little bit different, but at the end of the day, these are still people that are working with you. They're still experiencing what it's like to work for you. So their reviews are just as valid as someone that are paying for the services. So if you are a professional photographer and you're doing these collabs, definitely capitalize on having these folks provide reviews for you wherever that may be, whether that's, Yelp, your website, wherever you can have reviews. They're all over the place. Request those reviews, request them. And I say that because you may think that people would just naturally want to do reviews, but the reality is most people don't do reviews unless they're asked. That's just the nature of human beings. We don't mind doing reviews, but we don't really feel inclined to just go and do them on our own. So make sure that you're requesting those reviews. Ask them if they are inclined, do the review, and make sure that it's easy for them to do it. Leave a link that they can click and it takes them right there. If they have to jump through hoops to leave you a review, they're not going to do it. So make it easy for them. And number 15, last but not least, post this work to your social media. You really want to use this as an opportunity to expand your portfolio, and not just like a website portfolio, but also your social media presence. Social media is very big today. And so when you're doing these collabs, you definitely want to show the fruits of your labor. And this will also grow your social media portfolio. So that will help you in the future when you're reaching out to more models to work with more models. So definitely post it to social media and request that your models tag you when they post it to social media as well. It really is just meant to network and to get your name out there. It's not necessarily going to drive business your way. It can. There's obviously no guarantee, but it's really more of a way to network and expand your presence in the ever-growing social media and internet space. So definitely post that work. So there you have it. If there's something that you want to add to the list that I didn't mention on this list, please head down to the comments and put it in there and let us know what other tips or suggestions or experiences you have had in doing collabs. Now, when it comes to collabs, I was going to mention TFP in here as well. I was going to do TFP/collab, but it's 2022 and I just don't think that young folks use TFP anymore. TFP stands for time for print, and it originated way back in the day when prints were a thing, and you literally would do a shoot and you would provide prints to the model that they could put in a physical portfolio. I still use TFP in my lingo, but nowadays collab is kind of the way that it's said, but it's the same thing. You're working for free. The model is giving their time to get images. You are providing your photography services to get images as well, and you both benefit. So Like I said, if there's something that wasn't on this list that you could think of, please head down to the comments and let me know. Or if you just want to give your experiences in collabing with models, definitely let me know. I love to engage with my audience. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any future videos like this, go ahead and subscribe if you are not already subscribed, and ring that notification bell so you are notified when I drop a video. And I've been dropping a little bit more regularly now, so you definitely don't want to miss any of those videos. On your way out the door, please smash that thumbs up button for me. It really does help. Just smash it. Even if you didn't really like this video or if it doesn't pertain to you, just smash that button. Help your boy out. As always, I appreciate you watching this video, and until the next video, take care.